Today we're going to be reading a timeless Russian tale called Babushka, A Christmas Tale by Don Casey, illustrated by Amanda Hall, and read by me, Scarlett Tandy. Long ago and far away, there lived a little old woman called Babushka. Babushka was always busy. She was forever scrubbing and sweeping and washing and wiping and dusting and polishing. Her little house was as neat as a pin. One winter's evening, when the snow lay thick upon the ground, the clouds parted and a bright star shone. Inside, Babushka was busy polishing. She saw only the dirt and smudges on her candlesticks. Outside, there came the sounds of voices, calls, whispers, gasps of delight. Inside, Babushka was busy sweeping. She heard only the swish, swish, swish of her broom. Knock, knock, knock. Even Babushka couldn't miss that. There, in the doorway, stood 3 men, richly dressed in silk and velvet. "May we come in and rest a while?" asked the travelers. "We have journeyed far, and we are cold and hungry." Come in, said Babushka. "Come, warm yourself by the fire. Only please, do wipe your feet." While the travelers rested, Babushka bustled about. She peeled and chopped and stirred. She cooked up a great pot of steaming soup, and as they ate, they talked. "Where are you going?" Babushka asked. "We saw a star shining in the east. We are following the star to the place where the babe is born, a newborn child." Babushka was quiet then, thinking of her own children, all grown and gone, and of her grandchildren who lived so far away. "Who is this child?" Babushka asked. "A newborn king, the Prince of Prince, the light of love." When the travelers were warm and well fed, they began pulling on their boots. "We must go now, Babushka," they said, "to take gifts to the child. Come with us." "What?" said Babushka, "without washing the dishes?" So the travelers thanked Babushka for her kindness and rode out into the night, and Babushka stayed at home. Babushka swept up the breadcrumbs and wiped up the soup spills. She washed the dishes, and she went to bed. That night, Babushka had a dream. She dreamed of soft hay and gentle breath, a mother's warm arms and quiet smile. She dreamed of a baby with eyes dark and bright as the starry night. Babushka woke to see starlight streaming through her window, and pulling her shawl around her shoulders, she went out into the silent night. There was the star, shining. Babushka looked up at the star. The star looked down at Babushka. Then her cat came and wound itself around her boots. Babushka realized how her toes were cold, and she came back inside. "I will go and find the child," she said to herself, "and I will bring him gifts tomorrow." And in the morning, she opened an old chest. It was full of toys. Babushka had made them all, for she loved to work with her hands. There were toys of wood, carved and painted bright, toys of wool, knitted and stitched and sewn. They had never been played with. Babushka filled her basket with gifts and with good things to eat, rosy apples, sweet nuts, and spicy gingerbread. And pulling her shawl close around her shoulders, she set off into a morning framed with frost. Babushka looked down for the footprints of the travelers, but the snow had covered the tracks. Babushka looked up for the star to guide her, but the morning sky was empty. Babushka stood all alone in the cold. She didn't know which way to go. But for the first time in a long time, Babushka wasn't busy. She wasn't bustling. She was simply still. So she heard the sound of somebody else nearby. At the edge of the forest, a girl was out gathering firewood. She was wearing such a thin dress. She was shivering with cold. "Here, my child," said Babushka, and she took from her basket a warm knitted shawl and wrapped it around the girl's shoulders. The girl flung her arms around Babushka and hugged her tight. Babushka laughed, and even though her toes were cold, she felt warm inside. Babushka walked and walked. She walked until the sun set behind the winter trees. She walked until the moon rose above the silver birches. At the frozen river, by a hole in the ice, a boy was packing away his fishing net. Babushka smiled. "Catch anything?" The boy shook his head, and Babushka heard his tummy rumble. "Here, my child," said Babushka, and she took from her basket a thick slice of gingerbread. The boy bit into the gingerbread, and his eyes shone. Babushka walked and walked. She met girls and boys with no toys to play with. She took from her basket a doll, a whistle, a ball. Babushka kept on walking and walking and found children all over the land. Babushka is still journeying, and everywhere she goes, she gives a gift. Her basket is full and her heart is light. Her heart is shining with the light of love, like a bright star in the midwinter. The end. I hope you enjoyed today's reading.